Hello everybody, welcome to Cheer the British Way. This is a brand new podcast where we are going to be talking all things cheerleading in the UK. This follows on from our hashtag Not Just Cheer campaign that we have started to celebrate everything about the sport. Cheerleading is about so much more than people think. There is so much more to it, and we want to make sure that we are shining a light on everything that it has to offer. Today we are taking a trip down memory lane with some of the people who built this sport into what it is today in the UK. We're talking founder stories, growth of programmes and the evolution of cheerleading through those who have made it happen. Joining us today we have Rachel Lynch from North East Cheer and also Cheerleader CEO, and Ridgeway from EMCA and Angela Green from Ascension Eagles. Thank you so much for joining us today, guys. Lovely to have you.
It is so exciting.
Thanks for having us.
We have Angela is streaming in live at home. Can you hear us, Ange?
I can, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, I'm just going to hand over to each of you and get you guys just to give us a little bit of background about your story, your name, your role, how many years you've been running, and just a little bit of background about your gym. Rachel, we'll start with you.
So my name's Rachel Lynch. I'm the owner of North East Cheer. We're based in the northeast of England and have a gym called the Urban Factory. We are actually heading into our 20th season also.
Exciting.
Yeah, we weren't always North East Cheer though, so we can talk about that later, but we did start life as a much smaller gym running out of UKCA. Can you remember them back in the day?
Yes, I do, indeed.
Yeah. So we started when we moved into our actual gym with 80 members, and we now have over 900 athletes in various different activities in our gym. And then over the last few years, I've started to mentor other gym owners in the UK because I am really passionate about trying to help the growth of our sport.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that
Busy,
so much.
busy but good.
Ant?
I'm Ant Ridgeway. I am now the director, Allstars director, I guess, at EMCA, East Midlands Cheerleading Academy. We're based in Nottingham. Again, one of the bigger programs, I suppose, in the country now. I have been a lot of other places and done a lot of other things over the years.
And we will talk about that.
Get into. But yeah, been in the business now somewhere around 23 years.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I think, which seems a lot longer than it feels. Although it feels a long time, some days as well.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, been in and around this in the UK for that long, and also worked in the US for 10 years. And a lot of other countries along the way as well, actually. Been around and about and seen many a cheerleading thing.
Many a cheerleading thing.
In many a cheerleading
Good
place.
to know. Angela, what about you?
So I'm going into my 30th year in cheerleading.
30th.
So Ascension Eagles celebrate our 30th year this season, which is really exciting. We're a little bit different because we're set up as a charity, so we have charitable objectives where cheerleading is the tool that we use, but we're out there to transform the lives of the local people that we work with, which is in the East End of London. And I also co-founded and managed Team England with, the incredible Tori Rubin herself.
Hello, that's me. Hello. Yes, I am Tori. I'm the host of this podcast. And I'm really excited. We're going to be doing loads of different episodes about all different things within the sport. I personally have been involved within the sport since 2002, when I started my cheerleading team at my university, the University of Birmingham, and went on to found Unity in 2006, actually with Ant. And we will get into that in a minute. But like these guys, I think between the four of us, we have so much experience in the sport and have seen the progression of the sport from something that was very new and didn't really have any rules, and was something that not many people knew about, into the sort of monster sport that it's become today. Yet we're still in a position, I'm sure you guys will agree, where we're still needing to educate the general public and the wider community about the fact that this is a legitimate, athletic, incredibly inspiring and excellent sport that is open to so many people. And I think that's one of the things that we really want to make sure we are communicating in this podcast, is the fact that, cheerleading is not just cheer. Cheerleading is something that provides so many valuable life lessons. It teaches teamwork, it's inspirational, it's, responsible for making, thousands and thousands of children's memories and, hopes and dreams. And there's just so much more to it. And I think that's something we really want to make sure we touch on. And a lot of that comes down to the foundations that we've all built within our programs and within the sport in the last sort of 2 to 3 decades, and how much it has changed and how much so many people have given to it. It's not just the four of us. There are hundreds of coaches out there still operating their gyms who have been around for a really, really long time, who have done such incredible things. And hopefully we will get them all on as guests at some point in this series. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. So let's maybe start with Angela, because her journey goes back the longest. So talk to us about how Ascension Eagles actually began, because it's a really interesting story.
Thanks. Yeah, so we had a new vicar come to our local church, and his wife was American. I was 14, give you a bit of an indication of how old I really am. I was 14.
Never mention it.
I went to church, and he started it in Sunday school, and it was a Sunday school way to get kids, just involved in something when the church services were going on. And she taught some cheerleading, and I absolutely loved it. I think that is the thing about cheerleading. If it's for you, then it literally becomes all consuming. So we performed at a five-a-side tournament that the church was running. And then she said, well, if you really want to start cheerleading, come around to my house and let us know you want to continue. In the September, we knocked on her door and we said, okay, it's time for cheerleading now. And that is how Ascension Eagles began. So it was weekly practices, but, people kept coming and changing. And we said, no, we really need to be serious now. We went to our first ever competition in Bognor Regis in Butlins with the UKCA. It was slightly different to what you see for cheerleading now. We came dead last. But we did win a spirit stick, even though they called us Ascension. Which was a bit annoying. Didn't even get our name right. But we came dead last, and we decided on that day that we didn't want to be last. Obviously, where we're from is not necessarily the best area or great in performance for academics or anything else. And we decided that cheerleading was going to be different. So we were going to become awesome. And we spent our next year trying to improve, work hard. And then we went out our next year at BCA Nationals, which we found out existed. And we won our first national title.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Do you know what? Ascension Eagles is such a core memory for me when I first started cheerleading, because they were the team, Legacy was the team. And I remember we would go to the competitions, it was like there was loads of rock stars there. And everyone was just that's what it was like though, wasn't it?
They thought they were the rock stars too.
I think they did. They looked like rock stars as well. But I think it was I think for anyone that's been in this sport, for as long as we have, the cheerleading is not what it is today without Ascension Eagles. Ascension Eagles was responsible for paving the way for so much that was then to come. They were at the first ever World Championships, is that right?
That's correct. First ever international team to get an invitation to the majors, although we couldn't afford to go. But yeah, lots of firsts for us in terms of achievements, which has always been incredible. And I've competed in Japan, been to Singapore and coached, been to Malaysia and coached. So I've been really grateful for the opportunities that cheerleading is provided. And what you were saying about how cheerleading is so much more than just cheer, I think that's so evident in the path that I've taken, is that I've gone from just doing it at Sunday school all the way through to traveling across the world, obviously winning national titles, winning world titles with Team England, and I think that's just really a testament to the great sport that is cheerleading.
Yeah, I agree. I think obviously for myself and Angela do co-manage Team England together, and we've been really lucky to have had some amazing experiences together. But definitely what Ascension Eagles has brought to the cheerleading community has just been so utterly invaluable. And I expect for some people joining the sport now that don't know the history and the story behind it, get yourself on YouTube, get watching some of the videos. Like when you did the all-girl routine to Scissor Sisters, was it? The dance?
It was. I mean, I'm sure some of those aren't on YouTube because it goes back so far. I think the early 2000s is some of the stuff I've seen, but I still have a lot of videos and DVDs of the early days. And, sometimes we've actually been talking about it in the gym about getting them out, because even some of our younger athletes don't necessarily know the history behind the program in terms of, the routines and the things that everyone else still today will fondly remember, which is nice.
Absolutely.
Really nice
those routines were groundbreaking. Back then, and it was very inspirational, I think, for myself coming into the sport as a coach. I'm sure you guys feel the same, but seeing what you had managed to achieve with your program and thinking, that's what I want. You guys, I remember winning a bid, it was Future Cheer Nationals when it used to be in Brighton, and you won a world bid, and I think I was an athlete at the time competing on Surrey Starlets, and it was just, that is what we want, that is what I'm doing this for. And it's been amazing to watch the journey of Ascension, and to obviously be able to call you a friend and work with you so closely on Team England has been very, very enjoyable for me. Okay, Rachel, what about you? What's your founder story?
So I actually started my program as a bit of an accident, which I actually think many people probably feel the same.
Yeah.
So I had returned back from university with my dance degree, so I trained as a dancer, and my dance teacher had started a little pom dance class in my absence, and when I got back she just said, do you want to take it over? So for a little while I was just teaching pom dance, and it was growing, and then one day I remember one of our girls just saying like, but we want to do real cheerleading, and I was like, well, what is real cheerleading? Like, I had no idea. I'd seen a little bit of stunting at uni, but that was it. So I did some research and reached out to a lovely lady called Pat from UKCA, Angela, you will remember Pat, and she just walked through everything that I needed to do to become a cheer coach, to understand what I needed to do, and from there I created South Tyneside Cheerleading Academy. So that was the original name of our program.
That was the original?
South Tyneside Cheerleading Academy, and we competed at UKCA under STCA. Now we started with gymnasts because I'd gone into a gym centre, so I inherited some gymnasts. So the first ever time we competed at UKCA, we won. We won the stunt section because we had acro gymnasts and they were doing all these amazing skills, but I actually still didn't have a clue what cheerleading was. We just decided to throw some teams together, but we were able to get supported a lot in them early days, and then I was supported into some judging qualifications just to understand the sport, and we just started growing and building. And because there was nothing else in the Northeast at the time, we started to attract athletes from all over the region, and we were growing. But at the same time as us growing, we were starting to find that we were just becoming a bit of a big fish. At UKCA, as STCA, we were competing every year at Nationals just to get to the old ECU or the ECA Europeans. Every year we used to go to the Europeans, and Angela, I remember those days with the Europeans. We used to qualify in March and we used to go to the Europeans in May and June, which is unheard for now in the UK. Like, you'd spend like a year
planning those trips.
Those trips, and that is how we built our teams. But we started growing out of the gym centre, and it got to the point where I just couldn't grow any further, and I hit a point in my own business where I was thinking, this is such a valuable sport, but I've just capped myself. So I either need to just shut down and stop because I was getting frustrated, or I need to find a different way. And this was at the same time that Legacy Cheer and Dance were coming up with Ali and Andrea, and they just by chance reached out and gave me this amazing opportunity to go over to the States for a week and spend a week with cheer athletics. And this opportunity was actually given to multiple other gym clubs in the country, and there was only a few of us took it on. We went over to America, we spent that week in the gym, like 12 hours watching training, and that was a moment that really changed my mindset, the trajectory of the business, how I thought about cheerleading. It was the first time that I really saw cheerleading could grow and be bigger than what I was given. So after that, we rebranded the Northeast Cheer to really, I don't know, showcase everything that we're doing. We were bigger than South Tyneside. We rebranded the Northeast Cheer. I set myself a goal of building the gym. We got that within 3 years, and then we also decided to move away from UKC and start competing in the likes of Future Cheer, BCA, and we were last when we first went to them competitions. We were last, and we did not have a clue why. And I was like, I don't know why my one back handspring isn't allowing me to be level 3 anymore. Like, what's this about? My world's team, we can do level 5, 6 stunts, or level 5 at the time. I didn't have a clue, and I had to re-educate ourselves, but very quickly, because of what I'd learned from being in America, I was able to then pull ourselves around. And I never forget being at Jamfest for the first time. I think it was 2018, and we won so many divisions, and so many teams were like, where have you came from? Where have you came from? And I was like, we've been here for ages. Like, this is our 12th season. I was so offended. But because we're just in the Northeast, in our own little bubble, competing in UKCA, we were just minding our own little business. And over them last few years, we've built up our visibility. But I think it showcases that there are so many teams, so many good teams in our country that are doing amazing things, and they're just not, they're not seen, and I think we need to do more of that to showcase the teams that are doing so well.
Absolutely. Okay, so I mean, I don't think I can talk about the founder story from Unity without having Ant here, because it would just be incorrect and wrong. But I actually started cheerleading when I was at university, and that's how we met, because I was at the University of Birmingham and Anne was at Loughborough, and you were an American football player, as was my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband. And we met, I can't even remember how we met.
Yeah, I was trying to think of this earlier. Like, when did we first, I think we were aware of each other.
Was it maybe through cheerleading competitions?
Yeah,
Unicons?
we'd have been sort of in the same space.
Because guys, I tell you, BCA Uni Nationals was the deal back then. Oh my God, we got a 10-point deduction because someone's ribbon fell on the floor. It was a 10-point deduction for a ribbon, a 10-point deduction for an inattentive spotter, and a 10-point deduction for something else, 30 points in deductions.
I think if your shoe came off, you just got sent home.
Yeah, it was wild. Yeah, but you've got to bear in mind, for anyone listening, like we're talking, this is 2003, 4, there are basically no rules. Maybe they were just about to bring in novice, intermediate, advanced, but you could do whatever you wanted, enter whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
And the deal was that you started your routine, you stopped it in the middle, you did a cheer, then we turn the music back on, you finish your routine, and then you'd get your feedback from the judges on a cassette tape. You'd listen to it that evening, like all around someone's car, and then you'd go back and go again the next day.
It feels like we've gone a little bit backwards, actually, from not getting
like actual feedback, it was good. But I just remember it so vividly, like this cassette tape. And so that's when I was at Birmingham, you were at Loughborough. And both of our like university teams had started to become, you know, decent. We had a lot of ex-gymnasts, I think, coming through, didn't we? And we somehow had met, we can't even remember because we're so old, and we decided that there wasn't anything being offered to university graduates in terms of cheerleading. All the cheerleading that was around at the time, everyone was a lot younger. It really was a youth sport back then. So we were going to offer something to university graduates, and it was going to be called Uni-T. Capital U and I, small T-Y. That was the branding. We had a really ratchet logo that we made on like paint or something. I
spent a good 30 minutes making that on PowerPoint. Thank you very much.
I used to work in public relations, and I would speak to Anne all day, every day, on the office phone while I was meant to be working, coming up with these like logos and ideas. And we held trials. There was 2. There was one in the south, one in the north. Angela was the judge at both, weren't you, Ange? Yep, yeah. Angela judged both of them. And we had like 100 people come to each one because there was all these university cheerleaders desperate to carry on doing cheerleading. And we actually took a team of 40 people, and all 40 were on the floor at our first competition.
Which was legal.
At the time, it was legal.
Could do that.
But we actually did loads of partner stuff. We had like 15 guys on the team, didn't we? Like,
it was very much a true
co-ed team, yeah.
Which essentially was probably the only other one around of even that sort of scale at the time.
And it was
so
level
we were gunning for you, Ange, for sure at that point.
Oh gosh, we were like, we're coming for them. And it was level 6, which we would joke about all the time. We were level 7 because we were so top end of level 6. At the time, Legacy would have been what is now a 6, was a level 5. And then they hilariously did, only a few years ago, bring in level 7. And we did laugh, didn't we?
It was the running joke.
It was the running joke. But we started this team, and it was super fun. We trained at Birmingham University 1 weekend a month. We trained in the squash court, sometimes with mats, sometimes without mats. And we would get 1 hour in the sprung floor gym at 7 a.m. on the Sunday morning. Do you remember? That was it. That was all we would get. And it was lots of fun. Everyone was an adult. It was, you know, it was uni cheer, basically.
Definitely at least equal time spent organising the social.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Not slightly heavier on the former.
Yeah, and then I think our first competition, we went to Future Cheer Scotland. We stayed in a hostel. Yeah, that was the first one. And then we competed at nationals. And we were like, we're going to get world's bid. We didn't. We were like, oh gosh, why not? Obviously, when you look back, there's many reasons why not. But we
did not want to hear about them.
No, we didn't. We were thrilled with ourselves.
It was probably Angela's fault, I suspect.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Those judges just loved them.
We were like, this is outrageous.
No, clearly not.
And then we actually moved to train in, Adele from ICC had a barn in Milton Keynes, a working farm with a barn. She put a spring floor in it. We would stay in there overnight, and then we would use the hose to wash everyone.
It was very, very cold.
It was freezing, but we would stay in there overnight for a weekend. And that was like our second season. You were still here then, right? The second season. We took everyone to Daytona, NCAA College Nationals.
Oh, that was incredible.
And they did, it was so much fun. They did College Nationals, yeah, it does. College Nationals, but the day before they did like an all-star event, the day before in the bandshell. So we competed on the bandshell, and we won the Spirit Stick.
And we got a deduction that, have you to this day, do you know those?
No, we don't. Sure. We got a deduction for, it was a hand signal that apparently was rude in the US, but it wasn't. We didn't understand what it was.
There were some cultural differences there.
But it was a plaque of wood with a Spirit Stick on it, and it was the Innovative Choreography Award, but we all knew it was the Thank You for Coming Award.
Always the who came the furthest.
Yeah.
Always gets the spirit stick.
Yeah. But we had so much fun, and we were like, right, we went to watch Worlds, and we were like, this is it. We are coming in for this. This is going to be amazing. Ascension were there, competing, amazing. Gold Star came third in the Open 6 division in the Indiana Jones Theatre at Epcot, amazing. And just we were like, this is what we want. I remember sitting there watching with Amanda and yourself, and we were like, this is what we want. Like, this is happening. And that was 2008. And for anyone who thinks Unity was an overnight success, that was 2008, and we won our first Globe in 2022. So it was a very long time coming. And then the next year we went to compete at Baltimore, Adventure in Atlantis.
Out in the US at that point.
We drove through the night to get to Connecticut. Yeah, Ant had moved to the US at that point, so I was holding up Unity in the UK. We drove through the night, and we went to the petrol station because we needed some food, and there was a Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat CD was the only thing available, and the radio wasn't working, so we bought it. We played it for the entire trip, and that is how all the Unity teams came to be named after colours, was because of that song. That was how it came to fruition. And we literally, I'm not kidding when I say we drove through the night from Baltimore to Connecticut, and we'd finally got a world's bid by this point, and we did 2 days of training, we did an entirely new dance, whole new dance, and then we went to compete at Worlds. We were awful. Awful. But we had so much fun. We stayed in the Days Inn on iDrive. And I don't think we came dead last, to be fair, but we did win the Nations Cup because there was no one else in the division, and we were thrilled about that.
Yeah. I mean, anytime you get something to take home at that point.
Absolutely. And we were just buzzing. Like, the whole thing was just great. And I think, Angela, that was the year that you represented... Was that the year you represented England for ICU Worlds?
Possibly. They kind of all blend into one a little bit.
Don't they?
I think it was either... Oh my goodness, could be 2010 that we did.
Oh, fair. So this was 2009 was our first Worlds. But we were still just having the best time. We were still training once a month. There was no program. It was just Unity. We just had one team, and it was what is now level 7. It's black, basically. That was the entire program. But I remember Ant at this point had moved out to the US, and I was like, right, no, I want a program. Like, I want teams, because Ascension was a program, Gold Star was a program, Starlets was a program. There was also some other great programs I think we should name. Joe's Heatwave became Academy Cheer, brilliant. There was just some really, really great programs around. What was the gym in Wales? Cardiff Cougars. There was loads. RSD, yes, they were. Like, there were some brilliant programs, and I feel like we'll have to come back and edit through them more in as we remember them throughout the episode. But there's a lot of these amazing coaches.
Probably a few that aren't still around as well that were
brilliant at the time. Absolutely. Rising Stars, yeah. Who actually did represent ICU.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, we were there as well.
And you know, and it was a different time. It was a time where there was a cheer forum. Actually, that's an episode in itself. For those of you that don't know about the Cheer Forum, the Cheer Forum was an anonymous website where you could write. It's basically a bit like sort of anonymous accounts on Instagram, but you could write whatever you wanted about people on there. It was quite an awful place.
Yeah, it was literally like the worst comment section on any Instagram post, all just gathered in one place. Without the original post.
Yeah, we never ever found out who created it. And we'll never know. It's one of the great mysteries, and that could also be
know it was you.
Oh my God, I gave it up in 2010. I was really proud of myself. I gave it up and I never went back on. That was after, I can't remember, something awful had been written about me. But yeah, those were different times. But anyway, I came back from Worlds that year, and I was like, right, I'm going to start a program. I started teaching in schools, did a bit of leafleting in the local area, dropped a few leaflets into some schools, hired a tennis court at the local tennis club. And their dojo mats, and we ended up with 2 teams, Rose and Pearl, Junior 1 and Junior 2. It was £2 on the door. The parents were like, what is this sport? I was like, this is cheerleading, guys, please stay for a year. We hired like a coach to take everyone to Future Cheer Nationals. We had one kid with a back handspring on our level 2 team.
Yeah, that was
I remember her name, her name was Taylor, and everyone thought she was fantastic.
You know
one back handspring.
I think you need to, I'm glad you're elaborating on this, because I don't think people appreciate that. I think so many people think you just woke up one morning, decided to start charging people money to do high-level cheerleading, and it's just sprung out the ground.
Absolutely not.
It's
know
a
that
journey.
You literally started it doing, I remember talking to you about, I'm doing this lunchtime club, I'm doing a breakfast club. You work in all these hours around your other job at the time.
Yeah, it was.
Agonising over whether to give up a full-time career, a lucrative full-time career.
A career in public relations.
Because you were passionate about doing it. And yeah, you literally took that from grassroots. And then Amanda came on board and joined with that as well. And and I remember you starting like, we're going to have another team that isn't just Unity at the time. Didn't really have the colours. And it was like, we're going to call it Rose. Was it Rose first?
Rose and Pearl. It was a junior 1 and a junior 2 of completely random ages with one back handspring. And it was literally, it was £2 on the door. And we were on this tennis court, and you would often get hit by a tennis ball. Hilariously, now I play tennis all the time, and I love it, but at the time I didn't play. And we actually bought a tumble track off Andy Wicks, who at the time owned South Coast Zodiacs, and we had to piece it together every practice. And I put in some funding, actually, to Sport England for some mats, and we got some funding for a set of red roll mats, and we would unroll them. But that's literally what it was. It was 2 teams on this tennis court that we hired 1 night a week. And it was really hard, and we all worked for free. So it was me and Amanda and Chin, and she volunteered. We all worked for free, and then the next year Dave came, and we added Peach and Indigo, and then more people came, and we added more teams, and then it grew and it grew and it grew. And I think you're right. I think people so often look at what this is now and forget that for years and years we worked every hour that God sent for free, teaching very, very grassroots entry-level cheerleading in schools, out of schools. Like, we still have a really big schools program. I know that Angela does as well. Do you have a schools program?
We bring the schools into the gym.
Yeah, we don't. We go out to the schools and we run a competition here every term. But it was very much get on your hands and knees and work your ass off, basically, to get these kids in and make them stay, and for these parents to understand what this sport was, because no one actually really knew. And interestingly, I'd actually grown up in an area where there was Palace Crystals, which was also one of the original sort of cheerleading programs who performed, and I'd been a gymnast and I really wasn't aware of it, which is sort of seems wild because it was in the local area that I grew up in, and I didn't know about it, and I would have loved it, but I wasn't aware of it. I was an artistic high-level gymnast, and I only discovered cheer at uni, but it really was growing from the very bottom up. And interestingly, conversations I have now with people about business and building a business, we had no business plan. No. I had no idea that Unity was going to become this. We were very fortunate that we were London-based. We were very fortunate that we started in an era when people were leaving university cheer, and we were able to offer adult cheerleading. Yeah. And I think that was one of the things that really helped us. And we were had sort of started to develop a schools program. It was the back end of the last Labour government. There was a lot of funding still in schools, but it has been 20 years of graft.
And there's so many resources and communication tools now for new programs coming in, and I think sometimes they can kind of see what is at the front with some of these bigger programs and the success that we all have, or see the numbers that we've all got and think that it just happened overnight. And you know, it is hard, and there's nothing wrong with starting at the bottom, and there's nothing wrong with starting in a community hall.
Absolutely.
So many programs like I need a gym. You don't need a gym. You can start with mats. You can start with I used to have to get on the local metro with a CD player to be able to go and coach, and like these are the things that we had to do. I used to go into schools, and all of them programs that have been here for years and years and years started like that. And that is what built the foundations, and built the foundations for growth, built the foundations for resilience. And I think it's just an important message to get out there when these younger programs, the smaller programs are coming through. Like, you've just got to do everything. You've got to try as much as you can to help grow, and be not patient. Be scared of the big programs, not be scared and intimidated.
And the
because
learning was hard back then as well.
Oh God, it was so hard.
Those resources, like things.
You can message somebody and be like, you know.
So the coaches conference and any kind of events were in their infancy, but we didn't even have like YouTube videos. Trying to find like video on the internet was in its
my
infancy.
God.
So try to just watch another
We barely
team
even had phones.
And even copy what they were doing was
Facebook didn't actually come into existence till I was in my final year at uni. You know, like,
to see your routine from competition, you had to buy the DVD and wait for it to arrive 8 weeks
well,
later.
actually, but even before DVDs, I've got VHSs from BCA 2002 and 3. I mean, I do remember, Angela, do you remember BCA used to put on the conference at Guildford Spectrum? You were a demonstrator, and I remember just thinking Angela was just the most impressive thing I'd ever seen. She was the flying demonstrator. She was just insane.
Every time I see you,
honest to God, she was just at the time the most proficient flyer in the country, and it was just like unbelievably amazing.
Okay, future podcast idea. Just jump in. watch along of old videos, we should absolutely
Oh my
do
God,
this.
yes.
Let's pull the VHS tapes and the DVDs, find something to play
Oh my
them on,
God,
which is challenging at this point,
absolutely.
and
Because
just watch them.
I've still got all those videos.
I think some of it should stay in the past and be remembered fondly with the rose-coloured spectacles rather than watching it back now. That'd be
I have
horrific.
recently watched one or two of those like first couple of year Unity videos, and you just.
Did you see we did the 20? we did the 20-year through the age video.
Yeah, I did see that.
And I'm not so.
I'm not sure videos like the video quality was
isn't it?
so bad, but it has been like. You know, it was really interesting. We put something on our Instagram, and it was videos from every single year. And it was like, goodness me, we did some things back then.
Have you found my basket toss video yet? Because that is still.
I think I've got that somewhere. I actually think I've got that somewhere.
Please find it,
Somewhere in existence is a video of me doing a solo at Future Cheer Winter Wonderland in Crystal Palace in 2005. And I swear to God, if that ever comes out, I'm going to have to leave the country because it was not cute.
Someone will find that.
Cute. Back in the day, in like 2005, and I laugh about this all the time, was like one of the most elite tumblers in cheerleading with my like front through full. Now that is just entry level. Like I looked at the kids at our trials this week and I was like, good God, I was not very good.
The first time we ever competed at ICC, we took like a world's team, but it was like what old UKCA team. So we thought we were great, and Adele had invited us along, like the old SCCA, and we competed and we didn't get a day two. And I remember emailing in saying, but we had
a day two. I loved a day two.
And I was like, can you please explain why? Like I just need to learn. Like we had 3 running fulls. Like why did we not get a day two? That's all we had though.
No, I know, but back then, if you had a full, you were shoo-in for a world's team, like, weren't you?
We were talking about this the other day. I remember I once won the best tumbler competition with a whip full. Didn't even land it.
Oh my God.
Which was not advisable because I've never done it before.
It's hard to explain to people that are fairly new. And when I say new, I'm talking in the last decade. Yeah. What cheerleading was like 20 years ago.
We could list the people that had a full.
Oh, easily. You just
for several years.
Absolutely. And I mean, you know, like I say, there was incredible, aspirational teams like Gold Star Galaxy, like Ascension Legacy. You know, they really were these aspirational teams. But cheerleading itself was just an absolute free for all. You know, it was novice, intermediate, advanced, but kind of not really. You had to do a cheer sometimes, but then you didn't. You would get bids to go to these competitions in America where you could enter literally any level, like at all. There was the score sheets were just like everything was out of 10.
Yeah.
Deductions were 10 points. You know, and it was just, but we did do these 2-day competitions. Actually, I remember BCA Nationals, it was at Loughborough Uni, it was a 3-day event.
Wow.
And we would stay in like the university accommodation. It was brilliant.
Handwritten score sheets.
Handwritten score sheets, very much so. I mean, we still get those for ICU actually, don't we? Handwritten score sheets.
And everything's still.
But you know, Angela, what do you feel has been the biggest change for you for the sport in the last 2 decades?
I mean, I think there's some positive changes, but for me, the deductions has been a huge change. I feel like back in the day, if you could dream it, you could do it. Literally, we used to just do the most random things or try to do the most difficult things, and it always meant that you could win. And it was easier if you had the talent, which I was fortunate enough to have a team that were incredibly talented and could pretty much do whatever we could dream up. Now it always feels like when you go to competition that you're trying to get caught out on deductions and they're trying to take points away from small children, no matter what you do, even if it's something really silly. So I just feel like, obviously, the way that the sport has gone, it kind of has lost some of its creativity in a way.
Yeah,
because routines used to be so different and used to just, there were teams that you'd know because of their dances or because of their styles, whereas now I don't feel like people still have a style, but really you just want your style to be clean, crispy cheerleading these days. That's the style. Yeah. It's just clean, crispy cheerleading because you need to hit a score sheet, whereas because it wasn't such a big thing. And then I also think one of the big changes for the positive has been the relationships. Back in the day, we did not talk. Like the fact that Tori and I used to compete against each other for grand champs meant that we were not really friends. And if we weren't, it wasn't very real. It was kind of just to say hi and be, like the fake friends.
Yeah.
But the change, and I do think that some of that's come about through Team England, which I'm really proud of, is that, I can pick up the phone if I want to know something or I want to talk to somebody and talk to people and have an actual friendship across multiple programs in the country, which I don't really think happened before.
No, I agree. I think Team England actually was very, influential in helping build bridges between gyms and involving many people. I mean, obviously we've all worked together through Team England, a lot of different people have, but I do think there was a turning point. It was probably sort of like 2015-16 where people started to be more positive and supportive of each other. I'm not sure that it's not actually going the other way again a little bit now, but there was a really lovely period where there was a lot of support sort of pre-COVID, where I think everyone was, you know, sort of building really great relationships between the programs. I mean, obviously for us, we've all known each other a really long time.
I think there was a point when there was a growth in professionalising the sport in this country, because we were all passionate volunteers to start with, and there was no professional side to the sport. There was no money in the sport particularly. Almost everybody was paying money to coach, not being paid to coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's been that turnaround where now we do have actual facilities. There is an economics to the sport. There are paid professional coaches. There are people like all of us that are full-time, which was
unheard
absolute
of
pipe dream back in those days.
Yeah.
But that has definitely shifted, where I think when it's not just your passionate hobby and it's your job, you think about it differently. And I think that does feed how we interact, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been full-time in the sport since 2009, which is huge. I remember when I gave up my job in PR and started teaching in schools, and like Anne said, I was literally doing breakfast, lunch and after school clubs that across the whole of Greater London. I was in the car all day, because that's what it took to be able to work full-time in cheerleading back then. Yeah. You know, it wasn't, and literally left the country to be able to work full-time in cheerleading.
We literally took completely separate paths to the same end.
Yeah, we did.
In a weird way.
You know, and obviously it's been great for us because we've been really, really good friends for a really long time. And we've both had our journeys. We obviously started Unity together and went out to the States. You know, we worked for a gym in Connecticut called Spirit. He went to work at World Cup. So we had sort of, you know, a vast amount of experience. He actually came back and did work with us for a couple of years. And then we realised we both really like to be in charge, so that was that. And now we do get both to be in charge in different places. But I think, you know, back then when I was sort of working full-time in cheer in schools, and Anne had obviously chosen to go to the US to sort of follow that career path, there was very few people, other than yourself, Angela, who I think were doing that full-time. I think it was very, very much, we were in the minority.
Yeah, I was very lucky. I've never had a real job.
And I think some of my you know, sort of really high level coaches that are now coming through my gym that have been with us since they're junior coaches will be in the same position now, because we are able to offer careers, you know, in the sport, which is amazing because of the growth and sort of the nature that it's taken and the size of it.
And I do think that's one of the big changes in over the last few years as well, especially you were saying there, just before COVID, I actually still had a job even when I launched the gym, even when we bought our gym, I still had a job, and I left it in COVID. In the middle of COVID is when I actually handed the notice in of my,
Got that
stable
late?
job. Yeah, I was still working 3 days a week in school sports, but for me it just helped support the growth. And you know, Angela alluded to it there. It's like not having a real job, and I was like, is this time? Like, I need to go. But I think one of the big changes in the sport is now that we do have responsibility for staff, we do have the responsibility of overheads, and that does change relationships. It does change the way that we are running the sport, and we are moving forward to it being, it's way more athletic than it used to be. Yeah. We're taking it way more seriously. Yeah. Parents are more invested.
Oh gosh, yes, they are. That's an episode.
Parents are more knowledgeable, there's more pressure on us. Yeah. And that's one of the, you know, the big shifts, and I think some of them big shifts have happened since COVID. Yeah. Since people were able to take that break and think, okay, where am I in my business? What am I doing with it? Where am I going next with it? And then when things started to reopen, you know, so that's when I think we've seen that big shift. There was a lot of education, there was a lot of learning, a lot of support, and then, you know, that's where we are.
I think it's crazy to think COVID was 5 years ago, actually, the start of that. But something I was going to say that Angela mentioned about sort of not having a real job, I think, you know, I think we can all agree now these are real jobs.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's something that I really had to fight to get, you know, family and friends to understand that this was I was choosing a career. You know, this wasn't a hobby. You know, people would say to me, oh, but I'm working this weekend. Oh, you're doing your hobby. I'm sorry, I've not been a cheerleader since 2011, and I actually wasn't a very good one. It turns out when I look at the cheerleaders now,
exactly
was not very good.
When I laughed when I said real job, I still think that some people are convinced it's not a real job.
No.
The reality is, do you know what? It's not a real job, because a real job turns off at 5 p.m.
Absolutely, and this never stops.
Literally, I am on call all the time, and that's my choice.
Yeah.
But it's much more than a job, actually.
It's
but
a
there
calling.
Are still people
It's a
that are
calling,
guys. I don't
guys.
have a real job.
I tend to say it's at least 2 jobs.
Oh, at least.
Probably 3.
Well, I said, so when I said to my husband, I'm going to leave my job and do cheerleading full time, he was like, that's ridiculous. What is wrong with you? Are you having a complete nervous breakdown? And I was like, no, this is going to be great. And actually, just for a bit of context, my mum was really poorly. She had motor neurone disease and she died in 2014, but she was really influential in me making that decision, because she was like, life's too short and you're really unhappy. And I wasn't enjoying my job, and I really loved cheerleading and I really wanted to make a go of it. And I think having her support and having her push me to do that, I don't know if I would have done it otherwise. You know, I don't know if not having had something quite traumatic happen to me, I wouldn't have actually pushed myself into something that was so scary to give up an actual job. But I did. And then I got pregnant in 2012 with my first son. And I was like, this is going to be great. I'll do this on the side and I'll raise our children. And he was like, okay. Oh dear, that did not go so well, because it was not an on-the-side situation at all. It was an enormous, ginormous business where I had to actually find a nanny, and I went on to have 3 children as well, which was my choice, everybody.
And
yes, indeed it was.
Children.
Oh my God, yes, children, coaches' kids. Yeah, that's hard.
Raised in the gym.
I'm taking notes on this because we're literally lining up the entire season, I think, of future episodes.
Yeah, no, we have. We've got many. I'm sure our producer Danny is noting it all down.
I remember my brother, I don't know how many years ago, telling me, how long are you going to keep doing this thing for?
100%.
Like,
are you still going to be doing this when you're 40? Oh God, now I'm 42 and I'm still doing it.
Or do you still have that small cheerleading thing?
Oh my God, you're still doing the dancing?
Yeah.
The dancing.
Got that at school? Have you got that at school?
I'm like, no, actually, I am still doing it. It's actually competitive cheerleading. We have like our own gym. Oh, look at you.
The way other people describe what you do is fascinating.
I know, isn't it?
Like, we've gone through the years of like people asking what you do, and maybe it's like specific to me as a guy in this sport. People are like, what is it you do? And you're like,
I empower young people.
Teach gymnastics.
Yeah,
that
own a gym. I own a gym.
I haven't taught gymnastics in about.
No, I know, but
years,
I do think that now that there is, you know, now that you say like the industry is growing, it is becoming much more legitimate. These are businesses. Like, it's definitely gaining sort of credence. Like, my husband now, because it's a business, he's quite happy to talk to me about the business. We still fall out a lot because I'm never at home and I'm constantly doing cheerleading. But I definitely think it's given it a lot of validity, and I think that was really important. You know, and for a lot of the new gyms that are starting out, you know, they go into it with a business plan. They're like, hey, here's my business plan. I'm going to start a gym. I'm like, that is fantastic. Good for you. There was no business plans in 2005. You know, like there was no business.
Hope, a dream, and a CD player.
Hope, a dream, and a CD player, maybe a mini disc player even. I can't remember the year.
Title.
Yeah, there you go. A hope, a dream, and a CD player. That's the title. But you know, I think, you know, it is. We're now, when people are coming into this sport, it's got, you know, there's structure. Like you say, there's structure, there's training, there's conferences, there's support, there's safeguarding, there's a national governing body. You know, congratulations for everyone involved in that. You know, there's been years, like Angela and I were involved in the original Sport Cheer UK board 12, 13 years ago. Angela is still on the board of Sport Cheer England. She is dedicated, and this is all voluntary. You know, so much time along with Joey and like many other people on the board to helping create a governed sport for us that actually has authenticity, and something we can be really proud of. And you know, obviously that finally paid off when in March cheerleading actually gained official recognition by Sport England. And you know, that just shows how far us rolling around on a mat doing a cheer with our very high ponytails has come.
I have a great side roll.
Oh, I bet you do.
Drop roll.
I'd like to see it.
Oh yeah, later.
Yeah?
I can only
Credits.
go in one direction. Because that right knee is
gotta
not
be able to
handling
go
so much as a
too.
seat roll.
Well, as I'm sure you can tell, these are 4 people that enjoy talking an awful lot. So we are actually going to split this into 2 episodes. So we are going to take a break, but we will be back soon with episode 2.